Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Oluwase Akiomi. I'm the co-founder of Art and Culture. And Art and Culture is a platform, it's a social platform used to showcase Nigeria's independent creative art community and its vibrant culture. Now, the essence for this web series, rather, is to focus on the experience of the perspectives of professional Nigerian artists, art brokers, art dealers, gallery owners, uh, art collectors, and clientele. Now, this insight and these lessons that we learn from it will provide us tools in which we can draw from and change as a form of change for other things. Now, today with me, we have our distinguished guest. We have our distinguished guest with us, starting from Mr. Abiodun Olaku. He's a professional painter. And Mr. Edosa Ogigo. Abi?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Sorry, I always have problems. I always have problems like pronouncing your names. I'm so sorry. Oguigo. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Carry
Sorry,
on.
sorry. This is
It's
a
nice.
professional painter.
Okay.
This
Yeah,
is a
thank you.
professional painter, and Mr. Fidelis Odogu, a metal sculptor. So you're all welcome, sirs, to our panel. Thank you so much for supporting us. Um,
Thank you for having us.
yeah, and if you could please just tell us a little bit about yourselves, really. Just give us a brief background about each person, please. We can as well start from Mr. Odogu.
Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you, thank you so much for having us. My name is Fidel. I'm a metal sculptor. I trained from Auchi Polytechnic. I left school in 1991. Though before then I did my ND in 19. I left the ND program for 1988, and I went back 89, 90. Then I graduated 1991, majoring in sculpture. And I work from the Universal Studios in the National Theatre, Igomu, Lagos. I live here in Lagos with my family. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir. And if Mr. Edosa, sir, if we can hear from you.
Present, mom. Edosa Ogigo, as you have rightly introduced,
Yes, sir.
born in Jericho, Ibadan, the best city in the world. From where my parents relocated after about 2 years to Benin, where I grew up, and Midwest then. Had my primary and secondary school in Benin. Moved over to Lagos 1980 to Yabatech. Left Yabatech 84, 85 with my higher national diploma. And did my youth service in Bauchi with the Federal Government Girls College. Definitely came back to the city of dreams, Lagos, straight, and had a stint. No, I won't call it a stint. I met my first dream realized, meeting my long sought after mentor, Mr. Kayode Idu. We used to call him Iduke, concept unit. Moved on as I was employed as an illustrator visualizer. Of course, everything I did during my 1 year out imparted greatly through school and while working with Mr. Kayode Idu. In 1989, I joined Promoserve Advertising as art group head. Left Promoserve Advertising to be creative director, Peers and Associates. the groaning inside to become what I've always thought I should be, or what I was created to do. That's to paint. So 1992, effectively, I took the plunge to be a full-time studio artist. I'm a member SNA, inaugural president, Guild of Professional Fine Artists of Nigeria, GFA. Also a member of the Fine Art Trade Guild, UK. What else? So I'm a full-time
Artist.
studio artist. Thank you.
Thank you
And
very
the
much.
chances of that.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, Chelsea and Hala Madrid.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Sorry. The next person, Mr. Olaku, please, if you could just quickly share with us.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure, a privilege, and an honor to be on this platform, this eminent platform, to partake of this great invention that I believe will contribute something to the art industry on the long run. And for us, it's epochal in the sense that we are the inaugural participants. It's a first. So it's really a great honor. I'm pleased to be here to share the experiences we built up over the years as artists. So my name is, as you earlier introduced, now maybe some people will know my other name, that's not in public space. Abiodun Olawale Laku.
AKA Uncle
Born and lived most of my life in Lagos. I was born in December 1958. So I had my primary education from the Western region, Lagos and Ibadan, until I had cause, because of the loss of my dad at that early stage, to finish up in Lagos. So finished up my primary education in Lagos. I entered Baptist Academy for my secondary education and rounded up there in 1975. Worked briefly as a clerk in the Ministry of Works. From there, I got admission to study art in the prestigious school, Yaba College of Tech, and rounded up in 1981, specializing in painting. That period, I had I think the rare luck of meeting a compact, a group of masters that prepared us for what we're experiencing today, led by most eminent Professor Yusuf Grillo, Mr. Kolade Oshinowo, late Isiaka Osunde, late Jenkins. The list is quite rich, but just mention a few. And that prepared the foundation for those of us who are the privileged of passing through such a knowledgeable tutelage, for today. So I finished in 1981 and did my national service in then Midwest. 1982, when I came back home, I was lucky, even though there was an embargo on employment at the, in the Federal Civil Service, I got employed as a cultural officer and ended up at the National Theatre in the Department of Culture, which at that time oversaw the affairs of what has today become the National Gallery of Art. So I was a culture, because of that's a story for another day. I finished from a polytechnic, so I was in as an assistant cultural officer. I'm glad that years down the line, the certificates, whether a bachelor's degree or an HND, they have been merged. They are synonymous now in status. So I worked there from 1982, and other things started to follow, and eventually I had the boldness and conviction to leave in 1989, even though all the while I was practicing on the side, and became a full-time practitioner in 1989. From then on, it's been no looking back. So it's been a very beautiful and interesting and eventful journey. And at the end of the day, our journey culminated in founding a structure like Universal.
Hello, I
Of
think.
the Guild of
Okay.
Professional Fine Artists of Nigeria.
A trustee.
I'm a trustee, and I was Edosa's vice president, with that executive team. And I love sports. I like music. And for the information of those who might be interested, I'm the unbeatable champion of table tennis within the art community. I've held my title for years. And avid supporter of Chelsea Football Club. That's enough.
Yeah. it was there at my initiation in Stamford Bridge.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. If you could please expatiate further and tell us, like, what has the journey entailed? Like, how have you become a recognized brand, navigating the challenges in Nigeria? So we can start from Mr. Olako, then we can go, then maybe the next person, Mr. Edosa, can as well go from there.
Maybe I would have loved to come out on this last quarter.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it was a very eventful journey. It's been a very eventful journey to this point. The time our own generation came out of school, there really wasn't an industry, an art industry in existence. And there was lack of career counseling within the space. So it was like groping in the dark. In the 80s, Edosa mentioned somebody, who is when it comes to people who pass through Yabatech, is a legend.
Yes.
Tomorrow, I don't think is a record. His legacy has been touched. That's some of Mr. Kayode who was popularly known as Kedo. They had others within that realm, that gave Yabatech its clout. And you can imagine for those people to have finished from that school, specializing in, for example, the area of fine art, and not realizing the potential that they had exhibited at that time. It was simply because the journey into the horizon was not clear enough in terms of career choices. So most of the time, when people finish from having received such rich grooming, you now take everything and go into one form of employment or the other. I ended up being a civil servant. Some people found themselves in other government agencies.
Okay.
Like the NTA, some went into advertising, education, film teachers and lecturers and things like that. But today, all those things coming together have given us more insight about how we can counsel people to go in the direction that they have the capacity for, because the industry is quite extensive. You will always find your space somewhere. So when we started out, it was like groping in that. But I'll use my own experience as a case in point here. Having found myself, I think when I look back with the privilege of critical hindsight, I think God just arranged my life for me. It was so automated. It was like I didn't really have to play any stringent role in how things came together. And I found myself, because it is significant to note that since December 1982, all my life has been around the theater till date. Everything. The transition took place. Within that, from being a civil servant who had to create art when the time was available, till when I left and continued. But just to manage time, I'll say that I had my influences. One thing was that I was in a section that was managing the national collection at that time. The gallery at that time was called the National Gallery of Modern Art, which housed the works of virtually every artist that mattered, cutting across all relevant generations. Because if you are just a fledgling or something, it would be difficult for your work to get into the national collection. You must have made your mark to a point for your work to have been acquired by the National Gallery there. The gallery, the collection was put together by late Shino Yusuf, who was Mr. Shino's contemporary, Dili Jegede's contemporary. He happened to be my boss when I started work at the National Theatre. And the was more than amazing. It hit me like a boat. So every time I had the opportunity, I would go into the gallery and sit down and soak in all these works. But right across the nation, east, west, north, and south, every artist that would make a mark had his work or her work there. And it started to affect me. I wanted to be like those people. It was one of the things that propelled me to join the SNA early, because I discovered that most of them belonged to that body. So I didn't need any preaching, any someone, preach to me to try and be part of them, which I did in 1983. So it was instructive that I went into it, just like some of my other contemporaries at that time. Late Alex Shingu, with whom I graduated, Babatunde, who was the current chairman of Universal Studios, Tayo Kwe, Rotimi Ojo, and just Olotu, M.O. Meshak, Oyeride. We were all together and we did a lot of things. This are committed in. Nobody was an island unto himself at that point in time. So it contributed. If you had information, it was shared. We all carried that, the young energy we had, into the SNA, made things happen. We participated. It's different from what I feel today. If you're not satisfied with a situation, how do you effect change? You must participate in the process. For suitability, because if something is not working right, and you think by any kind of connection, any kind of affiliation, you deserve better, then you must be ready to commit to the cause to effect change. So at that time we went into, and I can tell you that my foray in SNA was one of the things that started the whole process. I took part in an exhibition that the Babas, the giants, were involved in. For me, it was just the privilege of being amongst them that they allowed us, the babies. And lo and behold, in that exhibition, I sold my work for the first time. That was what started the whole thing for me. So if I had not belonged to SNA, maybe that would not have happened. But it was one of those things. And we continued. But going on along because the atmosphere was, honestly, at that time, quite hostile to creative enterprise. It is still hostile. But we've, come out a bit into a clearing. It was like being in the wilderness at that time. There were all kinds of thorns and barbs, affecting us as artists. There was no social, acceptance. There was little or no respect. You were an artist.
So there was social distancing.
Yeah, we were just going on a journey. We were going on a journey that was not clearly defined. So at home, if you are trying to be an artist, a full-time artist, you will still have people asking you, when are you going to get a proper job? It still happens today when people don't understand what you are, the mission you are on. You wake up, you lock yourself up somewhere, and they say, is this a job? So some of us had that challenge, to prove the pessimists, the skeptics wrong. I left a paid employment. I was in statutory employment, and for me to have jumped ship midstream, looked crazy. At least I was assured of salary, at the end of the month, but I didn't have fulfillment. And there were other things I had experienced that made me feel that, look, this shouldn't be a long-term thing for me. And I left. At the time I left, I had no savings, no nothing, but the conviction was strong enough to motivate me to take that leap. And I worked very hard, even if there was no visible, no really established art market. We produced art, we were committed, using the principles, the values, the virtues that we were brought up on to create our pieces. The motivation is slightly different today. Even then, if you didn't have money, you were on a journey, trying to prove that you had something, to contribute to what was on ground already. So you wanted to show that you have potential, and there was no shortcut. It was a straight journey just to prove yourself. And along the line, Providence, showed up. 1988, having exhibited as young artists at the Goethe Institute, which was almost primarily reserved for established artists. Myself, Mr. Babatunde, and Felix Osiemi had a joint show. at the Goethe Institute in January 1988. So just by luck, by providence, what out of it is one of the things that turned us to what we are today. We met a friend who came into the country at that time fresh, read about the exhibition, and decided to search for us. The person is Mr. Folabi Kofabel, who is a renowned art collector, a diehard patron, and enthusiast. You know, you could almost, well, if you meet him, you almost think he's an art professor. He's an art aficionado. So we met him, and he was one of the people, in fact, almost primarily, he took our work out for the first time. He used to visit us at the National Studios, which was under the wings of the National Gallery. Okay. So all those things that happened at that time with Mr. Shende Odimayo, onto the scene came Mrs. Simi Adesoya. She was Mrs. Ogunsoya then. There's the proprietress of My Dream Gallery. Signature came along the way, you know, and a few others in church, and things started to happen. But I think there was focus, there was dedication. Because we were made to understand early that the journey we are embarking on as young artists like that is a marathon journey. So it will take time for you to crystallize into a recognizable brand. Today, it's like there's so much hurry. People go on this journey as if it's a sprint. You know, you have your whole life ahead of you, and it takes, you know, time before maturity sets in, before you have your work exude certain characters that will make your work typical. So those are some of the things that we enjoyed because we were groomed by the people that had this knowledge, and they passed it on to us. Those are some of the things that we too, when we received the baton, started to inject into our words. And the people that passed through us, starting from the old studios where you have Aino Nobolu. At that time, it wasn't called Universal Studios. It was just the National Studios of Modern Art. We started bearing the name Universal Studios in 1995 when we moved to the current space where we're. A lot of things happened in between, but we can't share all now because of time. But those are some of the things that, you know, got us to where we are. Probably if I have the opportunity of going around again, I will be able to share more of the experience.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. So, if Mr. Edosa, please, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. When you talk about navigating the space, it's like one way trained sailor. The reality is that when I dreamt of becoming a full-time artist, I was not dreaming to meet the challenges and the realities. Not realizing that sometimes I will have to trek from Ojuelegba to National Theatre and back just to save some money.
Wow.
And I had a young woman, I just put a ring on her finger the previous year. So it was quite interesting. But like borrowing from Mr. Olaku's narrative, by the time I realized that I needed a community, you know, to inspire me, I joined the SNA. That was where it started. And just with one piece, I think they were dancers. The very sharp guy, what was that man's name again? You mentioned Aka Rahman, signature. He was the one that spotted the work and sent for me. And that was how the journey started. He launched me, God used him to launch me into the market. And that was it. What else in the very big space to navigate? Organizing yourself as an artist, which is an ongoing process. So we are still navigating the currents. And having access to materials, relating with those on board. Remember that Universal Studios of Art was like a melting pot. In fact, I remember most of the afternoons when I have gone around town, I will come there. They had all sorts of chairs. I think courtesy of Baba of Blessed Memory, Fake. I used to steal one of them to just sleep. I think I've slept there a couple of times just to gather enough strength to go back to Ikmaja where I was living in the time. So because you are going to fight at Ojuelegba to get a space on the bus.
Wow.
So that's part of navigating the current. I think also we need to give kudos to the journalists who were helping us to project our thoughts and what we did. Of course, the galleries and the collectors have been there to push us because I think they fueled the energy to keep going. At the nick of time, you could have one or two calls. So and so persons want your piece, and that is enough oxygen to just make you get up and say, yes, I have to overcome whatever is in front or on my way. I think part that is how much I think I will be able to say now. And of course, you know, there are times of reflection. There are times you just remember how how far you have come and how far the journey still is. Because in the peculiar environment, you know, we have a very unique space. Nothing is organized. There is no structure on ground. There is nobody who will tell you this institution will do this. And so you just have value chains that are not really linked, but they just exist, knowing that somehow we can relate. I hope you get what I'm trying, the picture I'm trying to paint. Maybe if I were doing an illustration. So navigating it, well, you see, we keep saying it is by God's grace, because sometimes you don't know how the things even happen. You get a call and you're on a project. You are called for a meeting, not necessarily by your management group, but by somebody or some organization that has, you know, that has had a kind of relationship with or interaction with your work. Maybe your work was seen somewhere or somebody dropped your name somewhere. That has been the kind of, how do they call it in navigation, since you use that? That's been the way we have tried to go through the big community.
Okay.
And the training too, I realized has played a a big role. You know, when we were in school and we were bombarded with assignments, and there were days, I think I remember one particular time for 3 nights, there was no sleep. That's 3 days, no sleep. So you imagine when you now sleep, you sleep like a dead person. So coming out to the field to practice, I think that's the kind of experience, that's the kind of foundation that you draw strength from.
Okay.
And when you work, you are not ashamed to get decks. You are not afraid to tackle a project. When you get briefs, you just dig deep and you are able to bring up some ideas that will wow whoever has sent the brief. And most times you seem to be giving even too much, whether here in Nigeria or anywhere across the globe. I think that really helped us to have a foundation and a footing that makes you want to stand amongst the best anywhere in the world to say that, okay, I'm a fine artist. I think that's how I want to leave it for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Been able to, note quite a number of things that you actually said there. Mr. Odogu, please, if you could, quickly tell us your experience. how recognized brand, and how you've been able to navigate challenges as a metal sculptor, really, because we've been listening to painters so far. Yes.
Metal, or not
Yes,
clay, not wood.
yes, my two egbons have said so much, so much, and you know, for me, it's really by the grace of God, and we all know that God will not come down to help you. He will send men like you to assist you. My dad, who I call him my dad, his name is Ben Osawe, blessed memory, gave me serious lesson when I was doing my IT with him. He took me like a son and told me so many things that I'm still using to, to move on to today. Along the line, he told me that you have to be very hardworking. You have to persevere. You have to be focused. You have to be contented. And I picked all of them. Those are the things that I'm using today. So I believe with hard work and contentment, perseverance, you will go places. Just take one thing before the other. If you rush everything, you will lose it. And along the line, after my school and all that, practicing, doing my work that I'm supposed to do, I met so many people along the line. And when you meet so much friends like that, it gets to a point you settle down and choose those who are really your friends. When I mean your friends, people who have like minds, people who are ready to encourage you. I met somebody like Mr. Biodun Olaku, through whom I went to Port Harcourt for the total exhibit. I was one of the artists selected. But before then, we did exhibition together. Mr. Olaku is older than I am in practice and even in age. But he took me like a younger brother. Yes, maybe because of my work and the way I relate with people. I called respect to whom respect is due. So with all this, if you're focused, if you're very hardworking and you acknowledge people, you respect people, you believe in what you do, you will get to where you're supposed to get to. And that's how, those elements, have taken me to where I am today. I do an exhibition with a lot of people who are far, far older and more experienced than I am. It's not that I'm very good, but they feel that there's that thing in me. There's that thing in me that they need to highlight. And they've been able to help me, go through all the hurdles. And today, thank God, we're where we are supposed to be, and we're still forging forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Odogu. I really appreciate what you just said. Thank you. From the lots of experience you've shared, because there've been quite a number of lessons from mentors, trainings from the foundation, from your very, very foundation, that is your school. Networking has played a really great role too, and hard work, dedication, focus, and persistency. With just loads of experience that you've been able to gather, both left, right, and center, what advice can you share with the younger generation in realizing their maximum potential in the light of this present day economic situation? Because right now we are in an economic situation. Mr. Edosa, will start from you, please.
I knew you were coming. I think now I can begin to tie in the brand perspective.
Okay.
What's a brand? I think identifying a brand is always about what is called the USP, unique selling point. And you can't divulge that from how you were trained in school. I remember that in Yabatek, where I was trained, the lecturers and instructors, they will tell you, you know, they are going to bring some particular sets of students' pieces that had excelled, like the Mr. Kayode Idoke. That was the person that was my, like, a magnetic pull, and that inculcated in me that I needed to find a way to identify how I express my thoughts. And gradually, I think precisely in my second year, I decided to play around with a lot with my because I had loads and loads of gouache, you know, what they call poster color. I had a suitcase. I just had a few shirts and a pair of jeans, but I had a suitcase loaded with gouache. I bought them from, there was also this Universal Art Material store in Benin. They used to get materials from Italy. So I played around with it, and I found out that I was beginning to paint like Mr. Kayode do, but I didn't want, you know, so I didn't want to be called a Kayode do, but I wanted to be seen as following Mr. Kayode do. You get it? Yeah. So along the line, I think it evolved, and then the brand started having its own life. Now, when you take that process, the trajectory to where we are today, you find out that for the young ones, I would love to let them understand that it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of dream. And the dream and the work is in the mix where you can draw your own process. And that process has to be fired by your desire to be successful. Not in terms of what you earn, but the ability to be able to deliver a message in the context of what you do, that someone anywhere in the world will see it and say, oh, who has done this, or who is the artist? You know, there's a saying that ever seen a man diligent at what he does, he will stand before kings, not before men. So that saying never falls to the ground. And I believe that the one that has blessed us with such deposits of raw talent, that has also created the avenues with all of the things we have said, the networking, people like Mr. Olaku who will influence you. He was the first person that gave me, he linked me to the National Gallery, to let me just drop that. That was 1994. My wife was heavily pregnant, and he didn't know anyway. It was when we came to collect the money, he probably saw. So if I tell you that my commission, the portrait commission, he linked me, and by the time they saw what I could do, and with his recommendation, I just had to go ahead. So when you have those kind of networking and people speaking for you, because it's not enough to have a brand, to be a brand. If the brand is not placed on the right shelf and at the right location, it may not reach the target audience. So, like, again, I want to borrow from his earlier thoughts. It takes God and the right people he has put in position, now drawing from Ogwalewo Dogu's narration now, to make all the things gel. For the young ones, the desire to be actively involved, learning and drawing inspiration from those that you meet. And it comes in both ways. We are in a community where you don't exist like an island. So you need to draw elements from all of your environment. I used to tell some of the students, I say, you're coming to work with me also inspires me. They don't believe it because they always believe they are coming to learn from me. But there is something that the energy of the youth fires in somebody who thinks he has experience. And there are some things they do that just opens your eyes to, oh, I used to do something like this. So when you add your experience to apply that, it becomes something else. And they too are marveled. So I'm just trying to tell you how iron can sharpen iron. So for the young ones, there's no quick this one, there's this cliche around Lagos. They say sharp, sharp. There's nothing like sharp, sharp. Yes. I keep telling people, I want to speak my dialect. Now, when you rush into a wrestling arena without your strategies, without your skills well honed, without studying properly the weaknesses of your opponent and how to apply some of the skills you have acquired. Of course, in a few seconds, you'll be rushed out of the ring. So that's what the dialect I spoke. There's not enough word in the English dictionary to describe it. But it goes, the summary is that a rushed wrestling bout comes with a bad fall, a very bad fall that could take you out of your practice for a lifetime. I think for managing the brand and surviving thus far and having the hope to continue. Like I said earlier, branding is not a one-day thing. And the brand keeps rebranding itself by being conscious of the changes, the demands, and the expectations, to a large extent, the interpersonal relationship. Today, people want to do just business. They forget about human ecosystem, if you permit me to use that word. We are created as human beings to mingle and to have that relationship. The moment any human being starts to think that he is better than the other person, then that human being is heading southward. You should always consider others better than you, and you must have that ability to humbly accept that you are nothing. When you look at, have you tried to look through the window in the airplane when it's taking off? Then you understand what I'm saying. You just know that you are nothing. When you see the magnitude of space and how everything suddenly disappears and you are still moving in some space up there, you can't see anything but just the cloud. Then you know how awesome creation and God is. Then you know how very minute that a human being can be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I do really appreciate what you just said. Miss Alaku, your name has come up like 3 times now, or thereabouts, and it keeps on recurring. So if you could please explain to us, if you could please explain to us.
Please, before I need a very clear question. Can you just read the question again so that I will know how to package it?
Okay, again. So the question is, with the lot of experience you have, like, what advice would you share with the younger generation in realizing their maximum potential in the light of the present day economic situation? Sir?
Economic situation, I think, defines everything. The economic situation, that came out of that statement, defines everything. Because thank you for the question. From this position, we are very, very lucky. We are very privileged, having come this far, that we've covered so much ground that we have enough to share, even if it's from the perspective of personal experience. It is still part of the whole process because, like they say, no be one road enter market. Everybody will come with their unique experience, and they will acquired over time. But I will just state some things here now, not really in any particular order first. Some things that I've noted down. From what Mr. Guigo said, earlier, I just deduced some things, I think some of us have today realized that art, can be defined as a calling. It is a calling.
It's a calling. Yes.
Yeah. And when you now link it to what the Bible said, that many are called, but only a few. So you need to now, you need to sit down, calm down. Yeah, which is the truth. Many will be called, but at the end of the day, only a few will be chosen. That's why when you look through the books of art history, you discover that during certain periods, just a handful of artists are usually mentioned. Then somewhere along the line, one day you now see one beautiful work. Then you discover that the person came out in a particular era. And in that era, it was only a few other names that were mentioned. That is divine. Everybody will have it. It's their destiny. But it does not mean that having identified certain iconic figures, other great ones did not exist around that time. They just might receive different levels of accolade. So once you realize, having one day decided, because now I want to link it up with what I tell people when we have an encounter, especially the young people, and also because of what we do at the Universal Studios. We train people, we mentor, we counsel, based on the knowledge that we have acquired. And I always tell people, I said, look, there will be a time in your life, a very young person must sit down and think. When you have acquired that consciousness, maybe after secondary school, going into the tertiary level of education, you need to start to look at things more critically. There are so many people that we have seen from our vantage position who have gone to study things that they didn't really need. They didn't even understand why they went in that direction. It was probably because it was trendy, it was fashionable. People will follow. You have to sit down and start to take stock at a point in time. What do I want out of life? You ask yourself certain critical questions. What am I capable of? Who do I want to be? What do I want to be in this life? And you look towards that distant horizon and start to, because that's your future, and look at it. In spite of all that exists around you, in spite of all other opinions. We've seen where people came to Universal Studios and wanted to start to study art at a particular level, maybe as executive trainees and things like that. And we asked them, why did you study at a had so much interest and passion and talent? It was this. There are always reasons. Sometimes parents want to live their lives and live the lives of their children also. Yeah. So all kinds of influences and pressures come from everywhere. Some people, because in an area or maybe within the family, everybody went to study law or went to study. So whether you have the gift for it or not, you are pushed in that direction. Sometimes we discover that also it is parental concern, because some people because they have limited knowledge of that industry. When you finish this thing, how are you going to live? How are you going to feed? How are you going to take care of yourself? So we always implore them also to find out before they take decisions that cannot be reversed, because it's happened too many times that we've seen. But at the end of the day, we thank God we've been able to succeed with people. The parents who are the owners of the children who are the owners of their life. And we've scored remarkable success in that area. So it is very important. Whether you find yourself, on the right path of choosing that vocation at that point, because we've also discovered, Mr. Logo and they can testify. We've met people in Universal Studios that when you engage them, you discover that they didn't study art up to their secondary school level. So you ask them, why art now? Because you are expected to have a commensurate level of potential in that area, some raw talent that will identify you as, okay, yes, being divinely endowed. But you have people who don't have a clue. And they're probably in second year studying art or third year, and I always talk to some of them and look, when you finish, it's not about just acquiring your certificates. When you finish, what kind of life are you going to live? You think you can survive on this job after? So maybe at the end of it, but that is time wasted that cannot be returned. So for those who are qualified in every regard, I'll use another quote that says, grace or luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. So how grounded are you for when a chance will come that you can be able to grab it? Just like Edosa said, they needed artists to do certain things at the National Gallery, and I thought, and I looked at, oh yeah, I think I have already made, and I contacted him, and it happened. He was not the only person at that time. There were other artists, I think Olu Spencer, just to name some of the others, But if you are not prepared for that encounter, it probably would pass you by. So it is important. All these things I'm stating for those who are coming, who need to, some people, yes, might be on the path now, but they still need to do serious reflection. That's another one that I will quote that says, pursuit is the proof of desire. Do you want something? In our experience at the Universal Studios, one day the thing came up, and I discuss it regularly with my chairman, that's Mr. Babatunde, the chairman of Universal Studios. I said, look, I discovered something about certain young and emerging artists. Now look, there's a limit to which you can push them. Because an individual can only go, an artist now in this case, can only go as his or her vision. Because if you are endowed, if you are qualified, what kind of future, what kind of, life are you envisaging for yourself? What do you think you can achieve? Sometimes, if you are not careful, yes, with our ego drive, you can overestimate yourself. Sometimes you might not even be that critical or conscious, and you don't even know, you don't recognize that you have certain things that can take you far. But in all of this, what knowledge have you and aptitude have you acquired, have you built up over time that will prepare you for this journey? Who do you look up to? Because the day you think you have all the answers, you will not, your psyche, your makeup will not accept new information because you think you know it all. And even nature has a way of doing it. When you think you know it, nature will take the new information that you should have collected to other sources who openly declare that they need more information. Because there is no, as far as I've learned, there is no limit to knowledge acquisition. I mean, there's no age barrier. At any point in time, you can learn something new. Like Dosa said, I've learned from people who came, who passed through us in the studio. There was people that I handled personally or that came just for the experience. You look at certain people, like Dogu said, I used to tell him, I thought I was joking. I said, look, you don't know what you've done for me over the years. Himself and Alex Nwokolo. I said, look, there's something I admire you guys. You're dry.
I go say
you guys, it's like you use a double engine. So in the Universal Studios, I used to have a corner where I would sit down and be watching him in the quality of your work. I'll just run it up there. The quality of your work is your bargaining power. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Odogu, do you have any other? Do you have anything to contribute to what Mr. Edosa and Mr. Mokan said?
Let me not say it again. They've said it all, but I like to speak to the artists, the up and coming artists, not passerby. I like to tell them that they should believe in themselves.
Excellent.
Be consistent. Be focused. Be hardworking. And always pray, because prayer and hard work, it goes together. Don't forget again, we are creators. When you work, you pray to the overall creator. He answers your prayer faster than other people because you are a co-creator. So do what you're supposed to do. Don't try to copy anybody. Your thumbprint is different from mine. Do your work and believe in it. You will get where you're supposed to get. That's my own belief.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for that. I really appreciate it. Please, if we could start dropping our questions. If you have questions for the panelists, please kindly drop them. Send them. There's a chat box, or you can as well raise your hands if you have any questions. Just drop them, and we can as well ask each panelist, please. So for the third question, please. Nowadays, there's another school of thought that says you need less of mentorship. There's a belief that you do need less of mentorship and more of self-development. Now, how true can this be in the light of your own experience? Ms. Aldogo, we can start from you, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. If I believe that we need serious mentorship. If you don't believe that you're supposed to be mentored, you're supposed to learn from the people that is way ahead of you, then you shouldn't have come from your parents. Maybe you should have just jumped down from the universe, come to this earth and start functioning. Everything in life has stages. You'll be giving birth to, you'll learn how to stand, how to walk before you run. And if you say you don't mentor, I mean, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. If you're an artist, born artist, because the people who believe what you just said, that they need less mentorship, are those people who see that art is trending. They see the auction, Bonham's auction, Sotheby's, Art House, and other auctions, and they hear some staggering figures, and they want to have a bite from there. Then they go to their houses, they set up their desktop or their laptop, do all manner of design right there in the laptop with the aid of internet and all that. Then take this program and put it in this projector. It will project on their canvas. Then draw those things or apply the colors as it is from the original design from their computer. These people we're talking about cannot pull one line. They cannot take donkey bench and put their sketch pad or whatever and draw anything that is in front of them. They just come, they tell you they want to bamboozle people, say all kinds of things. Art is visual. We know who we are. We are born artists. We all went to school to highlight or to brush, clean up our talent. Not people who do not know what art is all about. They are just passerbys. They just came in. And I believe that they will not stand the test of time. If you are a born artist, you went to school, you will know that, yes, along the line as you went to school, you will meet different people who will tell you this and this, give you all the rudiments, give you all the principles and the elements of art. Coming here and telling us that there's no perspective, there's nothing, there's this, just take a banana and paste it on a canvas and pick up the banana and eat it up. Or bring fish, perishable things. Art is documentation. If you bring a fish that will just get rotten in 2 hours and you say you're showing that, then how have you been able to document what happened or how have you been able to pass message to even unborn children? Art is visual, art is documentation, art is life. It's not a 2-minute thing. They just came want to have a feel of what is happening in the art circle. Look at it very soon. You'll see all of them wither away. But we, the real artists, will stay. We believe that, let me personalize it. I believe that before you can stand up, you try and get your balance before you stand up. Then you learn how to walk before you start running. Now they just came into the scene and they are running. They will fall now. They will fall. We need mentorship. Then of our blessed memory taught me a lot, and it has taken me to places. It's gradual. I'm doing it gradually, step by step. Not just come and take over the thing, then before you know, you are out of the thing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Edosa, do you have anything to add to what we said?
I think, for clarity purposes, I want to say that it is living in self-denial to say that you don't need mentorship. But, there are all sorts of backgrounds and all sorts of perspectives. And especially in the contemporary times where we have people with so much energy and perspectives that would want to make some form of impression. What is mentorship? It's just about guidance. It's about like you asked something about navigating the big waters or the community earlier. If you have somebody, whether younger or older, that had been in that field, that had practiced before you, that person will be able to tell you, hey, take it easy. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. You know that the preparation, if you ask or you do a bit of research in people who do the marathon and those that do sprint, the whole package is different. And to desire or to say self-develop, how do you self-develop if there were no antecedent, if there were no documentation or people who you can point to as iconic figures and you look up to? Now, it becomes a different debate if you are saying maybe mentorship does not earn the mentor money. Because today I know that there's what you call coaching. Coaching, as opposed to mentorship, is you earn a fee that is commensurate to the input you add or help somebody else to bring on the table. Now, when you talk of mentorship, it is very, very different. You know the problem with us, let me tell you, as human beings, we have egos. And we don't want to easily admit that I learned from this person. I don't want, and more so that we believe we are in a democratic setting. Let me tell you, if let's just assume which child is born today, and as the person gets out of the mother's womb, he or she starts to run and starts to eat food. When you see a thing like that, they will send for some. So people will even run. Nobody is born with the full set of teeth to chew. So there's always a process. So mentorship has its place. Self-development has its place. I think, to put it in proper perspective, don't forever lean on the milk that you derive from mentorship, but rather grow on that milk to be able to chew the solids, the meat of your practice. In other words, as you draw from a situation where a more experienced person, whether older or younger, is a mentor, has poured into you, you are also evolving to become a mentor. And the way God has made us, I think, is a circle. So we cannot circumvent, we cannot short circuit the process. Self-development has a place in mentorship, and mentorship has a place in self-development. I think they go hand in hand. So that is the way I want to see it. I would not want to admit that they exist independently. I think they are interdependent, and that way we'll be able to pass the right information and not confuse people. Because the person that is counseling you that you should self-develop and forget mentorship, that person is indirectly mentoring you. Is indirectly mentoring you. So so it becomes sometimes confused. That's why I don't like engaging in all these what they call intellectual discourse. I just want, because I'm still learning to draw my figure and make my compositions, and that is enough to turn my head around. So shifting my brain in doing all those kind of lengthy talks and doing write-ups it steals me away. I just want to be in my space. I think I'll rest it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr.
Yes.
Laku, I mean, we would appreciate your comments on this, please.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
The elderly.
It has,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you very much. The issue of mentoring has been a bit contentious, for some time, whether it is necessary, whether it is not necessary, or whether it is a necessary evil. I think what can help us is, for example, maybe after this session, some people, we all can go back and take of the grace of Google and go through the definitions again.
Exactly.
Because once you have that fundamental understanding of the definition of the word, and there will be less contention. Now it will be up to the individual conviction or whether I need this thing. But in principle, when we're discussing it, you cannot force feed somebody. If somebody thinks he needs mentorship, the person will really always be available. Because after all, sometimes you don't approach people directly because you start to follow them from a distance. They can mentor you from a distance. Then you can have more specific arrangements and get close to the person and say, please, for social reasons, I'd like to understudy you or learn more from you. And those has said it very well. And even Odogu mentioned it too. It's something to do with ego. But I think it is naive to think that you can achieve all the necessary mileage without assistance, without aid. Up till now, how many years? If I want to go back, this is 2020. That makes it 44 years that I met Mr. Shiro. That was when I first met Mr. Shiro. Yes. Until tomorrow, my story is incomplete if I don't mention him and the role he played. Even well after school, or Professor Grillo. This was, was the time after school, after teaching you as when he was in school, when he was in the system, that would meet you outside and hit you and point
What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Are you working? Because he was concerned that, look, all the potential that you exhibited in school should not go to waste. So he took it personal. Everybody, he was, I mean, I've never seen such a gifted person. He knew almost everybody. That's why we call him Yes, when we were in London, we would travel together for some programs. You should have seen himself and Odogu that went to our chief. They were paddy on London streets. So that's somebody who even comes down to other people's level, to engage. Up to tomorrow, where his conscience pushes him, he will still give you counsel without you asking. I mean, it's right across the board. So for those who are interested, I think it is available.
Okay.
Somebody who has more experience than you apparently has something to share.
Exactly.
that will be for, because after all, most of these arrangements they are not cost intensive. They don't carry any financial burdens with them, because most
Now,
people,
exactly. Mentorship is free.
but some experiences, because this world is a world of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Some people who are in a position to mentor younger ones too have become apprehensive because of past experiences. So we must always find a balance.
Sir.
Years ago, this is why we have Universal Studios of Art today, where we do as a collective, and even on an individual basis, we still do. So it is for those who feel that they have something to gain from that kind of concept. They'll go for it. There are lots of people who are willing, I'm sure.
Sir, a question just came in, and someone is saying, how do we choose a mentor, and how do we know the right person? Mr. Alaku, you just finished. I mean, you can as well wrap this all up. Like,
Exactly.
yes.
No, what about my
Yes.
Please,
Well,
relate again. I want to be sure of what I'm answering.
this person asks, like, how do we choose a mentor, and how do we know the right person?
Yeah, as you said it now, the issue of compatibility comes in. You know, I'm sure if you are somebody who studied linguistics, if you specialize in Arabic, when you come out, you'll be looking for people who can take you further along that line. You won't go for a Frenchman, except the Frenchman is a renowned, he's a very successful person in Arabic. Then, because the person must excel, the person must excel at something that you are wishing to attain.
Yeah.
On our own front, okay, as a sort, not necessarily, I'm a painter by specialization. It's not that I don't have any idea of sculpture, but if somebody comes and says, "Look, I want," and I see that it is a peculiar request, I'm going to find the best person for him. Like, look, within our studio here, meet Mr. Odogu, can help you out, or meet Mr. Abatunde, or Patrick Agose. There are so many people. So you have to look for somebody. If you look at a hand glove now, it doesn't really look like something you can wear in your office. So there must be compatibility. Who do I reach out? Okay, this person has so much experience. Even if it is general knowledge, certain people can give you that. If it is specialized knowledge that you're seeking, there are some people that can give. So you have to look at what you want and start to narrow it down. By the time you reach out to one person who belongs to that industry or something, they can get you some of the best people that might be willing to accommodate you. That's what I see.
Mr. Odogu, do you have anything to contribute to the question?
I like the picture that Mr. Laku painted. He said, I mean, if you read Arabic and you're looking for somebody to mentor, you should go for somebody like that. You know exactly what you want. That's what I said initially. Be yourself. Relax, and you'll be able to make your choice. This is the kind of problems I'm having, and I know that this man or this woman does this every day, so he should have an answer to that. So you go straight to him. Just humble yourself, humility. Humble yourself. Not you're coming to meet somebody who is approach matter. Meet somebody who is 20 years or 30 years older than you are. All your hands in your pocket, and you're talking, yeah, man. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Really, really and truly, we have to be ourselves. We have to respect ourselves. Because when you respect yourself, you have to respect the next person. You know what you want, you go for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Edosa, do you have any other thing to say? Any other thing to contribute?
I think that's very well exhausted. So,
Okay.
uh,
Okay, thank you so much. Okpedun asked me if the webinar is recorded. Yes, it's recorded, please. I will be posting it up later on on the Arts and Culture page. If you could please tell your remaining colleagues that are not here today, they can as well get the necessary information. I mean, Any other question? That the arts industry has been corrupted by certain issues. Take, for example, copyright infringement, uh, fraudulent activities, and the likes. Now, how are you educating the members of the public about the evil effects, especially among people who see this as a source of livelihood? Mr. Edosa, will start for me, please.
Source of livelihood, is it from the point of view of the artist or the dealer?
The fraudsters.
Yes, I mean it's
Oh, the fraudsters.
yes, I mean because
Uh, well, it's like, okay,
Anybody,
okay, that would be a proxy, because I have not been able to come across any of the fraudsters. But I think in the past, okay, let me still talk about now. You know, sometimes images are sent to me.
mm,
Somebody will just say, oh, I saw this on Facebook.
yes,
I saw this on Instagram. And what I have done in my case is to try and reach that person, ask questions. But I think the source of the problem, apart from the societal pressure, is that from school, these students don't seem to be told. I'm sorry, maybe I should not just make a blank generalization. Some of the students or some of the schools or some of the lecturers or instructors don't seem to hammer it down that if we say take this artist as a case study and you eventually fall in love, or you chose an artist that you really love his work, that has not given you the express permission to sign off that work and sell it off as your original piece. It was meant for your study and development. If I were such a student, I would put that in my archives. As far back or as close as 2014, I had a course in London Fine Arts Studios on landscape, and we were asked to choose from the great landscape artists. I think Turner was one of my choices. I wouldn't now say that because I went to the National Gallery to study Turner, and there is one other name I can't remember, and I think it's a Spanish artist or an Italian. Then I'll now start repeating those images or going to their website because they are long dead and gone, and start to doctor what they have done and present them as my own. That is pure fraud. That is criminal. So what I have told some of the students or some of the younger artists, I think I've had cause to talk with one or two. I say, look, don't make yourself the Taiwan of Edosa Ogigo, because what you are doing instantly is to have a fake Edosa and the original Edosa. And what that does is you keep promoting me and undermining your practice. And you will never have your brand built that way. So also, I think a little bird had whispered to me that there are some fraudulent dealers out there who tend to dangle money at some very promising artists. So say, look at this thing. Can't you do something like that? And they get out some of these images or past catalog and say, just do it, I will pay you. And you know, like you have the pressure all around society, corruption. You know, we keep pointing, when we say corruption, we are pointing at politicians. But the corruption is right from where we operate from. So these people lock them up in their closet, put a lot of money, and ask them to churn out this thing. And unfortunately, there's like a black market for fine art. And it's a really big challenge. Last time I checked, even though Mr. Olaku mentioned at the time that we should try the existing law, but I understand that the penalty is so minimal. The only thing I think by trying it is to help project and put in the open space that this ugly kind of practice is going on in the background. And so in a nutshell, that's the only approach or the kind of suggestion I can put on the plate that we can explore to help stem the tide and to also tell, you know, the dealers or artists who are involved that they are not helping themselves. They are not.
Thank you so much,
You
sir.
are not, even the roadside artists, you know, will not do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr.
Yeah.
Olaku, please, if you could kindly contribute to what Mr. just said.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sadly, you know, it's a subject that some of us are very passionate about,
I
because
should be
every artist understands
exhausted here.
what it takes to create a work of art. On this journey of creativity, there are junctures where, you know, you draw blanks. You know, you have long spells of,
Yeah.
you know, emptiness. You, as if a plug was released somewhere and all your creativity got drained. It would be so frustrating. You know,
Yeah.
you know what it takes. Sometimes you even have to go spiritual before you find yourself back on. I've been an enemy there. I bind you, do everything. Because suddenly it's like you have run out of stuff to create. And anytime you're now successful, you come out with one beautiful piece. You know, at least that is attributed to you. You give a sigh of relief. Thank God, you know, it's still there. You know, then we are art professionals. It is the business we do. It means, okay, now your income stream continues. Because for as long as there's any hiccup, it is financial hiccup too. You know, so you finish whatever you finish, you think, oh yeah, you've done your bit, and lo and behold, there are people out there who are specialists in ambush. You know, I remember one old conversation we had with one of our colleagues, I think Mr. Oluwajayi or something. And liking it too. That, I've never seen a better illustration since that. He said it is armed robbery, which is the truth. And he illustrated, look, for example, you go and walk on a site, imagine a laborer who climbs scaffolds, takes all the risks, suffers injuries and all kinds of things and everything. The person gets paid, having survived that experience. And you go around one small alley and somebody comes at you with a weapon, either a knife or a gun or something, and they take all the proceeds. So all the risks you took, all the injuries you suffered and everything, gone without bad encounter. That is what it is like. Because it is not easy to create one original piece. Then somebody just comes, makes it. They are supposed, after all, they're supposed to have some skills. They go into their dark laboratory and go and reproduce those things. You know, they do it in two forms, you know, that I'm aware of. For example, as a painter now, I've been one of the, if they were doing a contest, I probably would get gold medal for it as having been most hits. You know, what they do is sometimes they do a copy of your work and sign your name, the artist's name, and sell it off as a fake original. So, like it happened to Mr. Shinowa just
recently.
So very recently. You know, even somebody as high up as that, they don't care any. I mean, even if they've proven that we've had pics of Osawe, whoever instigated it, by the way. There are some contentious issues about anyone flying up and down, but at least now we've seen an brand being corrupted. It had happened before, just I think sometime last year or so. This is a fresh one now, and they found the name. The second one is somebody sees your image somewhere, either online or in a catalog. In those days when there was no digital experience, they would take our hardcover and enter one corner and reproduce your image and sign their own. For me personally, that is the one I can hunt somebody down for, because all the experience, everything that I went through to create that piece, you stole it outrightly from me. The other person has even given me a bit of honor by putting my name. Although in law, that is the one that the police will be more interested in, because that is outright forgery. That is outright criminal. It's a criminal offense under our statutes. The other one, it can become contentious. They will say, because they've come with all kinds of vocabulary. They say appropriation. They use red, they use blue. They do this. So under the Nigerian Copyright Act, some of these offenses come under plagiarism. I know some of the details of the law because I have explored that law before. I have taken a company to court. So it's not hot air when we start to try and confront this thing. There is a law in place that can be tested if one is pushed to the wall. In 1999, I took a company to court because they used my image, abused my copyright, used my work without recourse to me. And when I approached them, that was the night. Let me leave the name out first. Let me leave the name out. But it was a big, and it was at that time one of the biggest outdoor media companies in the country. We tried to talk about it. I even took them to the Copyright Commission for arbitration. They called our bluff. So at the end of the day, we all ended up at the Federal High Court. That was my first time in front of a judge. I reported to one of our very gracious patrons today, who is even a trustee of the guild. That's Mr. Idi Dakinone. And he introduced me to an in-law who took up the case. There's the legal term they use, free. I didn't have, he understood that, she understood that I didn't have the money to pursue it. But we went to court. After the first appearance in front of the court, those people reached us for an out-of-court settlement, and they paid heavily. So what we're saying is there is a law in place. One of the things that irritates me the most is when some of these things happen and we are discussing it within cyberspace. You find some very funny, very infuriating, very irritating, exasperating comments. Where people will say, the person is honoring. I don't want to be honored that way. It is offensive. How can you say a thief, a criminal is honoring me by producing my work and going to sell it behind? What kind of honor is that? Most of us were young artists at the time. I have been hit more by some of the younger generation. But most of the time, because we don't want to be accused of killing a fly with a sledgehammer, we talk about it, we moderate it, the whole thing, and try to educate, just like I said, and try to educate everybody the more. But it keeps happening. People, in fact, are getting bolder. And those people, the observers who come in and their own kind of intervention is even hurtful to the process. Because there are people who virtually encourage them to do it. There is a law. That is to start with. So what we can do is we continue to educate, enlighten ourselves that, look, this thing is inimical to the development, to the growth of the industry, and we must confront it. It is starting because it's going to make patrons, develop cold feet. It is already happening behind the scene. I know, because some of us operate within some of those spaces. The collectors are becoming apprehensive. The ease of doing art business is no longer the way it used to be. Every business you want to conduct now is thoroughly. So it extends the process. So I think that we have to erect platforms, broad platforms, probably through the SNA, the GFA, and the schools, like Edosa has said, because that's where some of these
We just asked a question saying, is the school system to be blamed for this occurrence? Mr. Edosa, do you agree?
I don't agree. It's the person. There are temptations everywhere, and you have to make your choice. No matter how beautifully packaged and presented, you should always think about repercussions. You should always think about the side effects or after effects And of course, you should think of yourself. You know, when we were growing up, your parents will tell you that our thing not be my thing. Not put I for another person thing. Then my mother of blessed memory will say, Oloju kokoro, Baba Aje. I don't know if I said that very well. You know, when you talk of long truth. So that was what my mother used to say, that something that does not belong to you is not yours. And you should have self, what do you call it? Think about your integrity. When you talk about stealing, I don't know how people define stealing. It's not only people who steal from another person's wallet, like the illustration Mr. Olaku used, that our colleague Olu Ajayi. That's armed robbery now. Somebody has sweated day and night to bet a piece, and you come from the side to copy and put your name and sell it off as your own. And some even go to the extent of receiving all the accolades on social media. They say, you know, as if you just released a new demo and, or a new single rather. You are having a hit. And you also find people hailing them that, man, this is too much. And when they are challenged, they tend to take it negative. So I think it has to do with the make up of that person, the character of that person. There's another thing they say in Yoruba, they say "Efiniwa," isn't it? Say smoke, not the hide, you know. So, yeah, character. So that's what it be.
I hope this answers your question, please. To the person that forwarded the question. Sorry, says, this last question goes to the three of you.
Final.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Time is fast spent. So,
Not all like pastor.
how you highlighted various challenges that are prominent today. Now, coupled with this new order, this COVID-19 thing that is going on right now, how have you been coping? Number one. Number two, what counsel
Excuse me.
would you give to the younger generation to survive this period and beyond? Mr. Laku, we'll start from you.
Oh, to Mr. Olako.
Hey, some people might not know the music. Maybe Edosa will remember it. Brass Construction, when they sang one old song in the 70s, times are changing.
Yeah.
Aha. So we are. I don't know. I wish I wouldn't call it the dawn of a new era, but because it is a new experience, probably totally new, a very contemporary thing, then it can be called the dawn of a new era, because these are indeed strange times.
Very strange.
Now, going to start to experience new realities. The new realities already are affecting us socially, psychologically, spiritually, and in almost every direction that you can think of. Don't forget, the headquarters of Islam in the world was shut down, even when they had very important occasions, coming, and it went through the whole. They even finished the fasting. Mecca was, I think, it was under lockdown. The Vatican, the headquarters of the Catholic Church, everywhere was, but the whole world was on pause. Businesses, people's individual and collective lives were put on hold. It's very, very, very strange. Those of us that were shooed home say, look, so that the COVID will not spread anyhow, blah, blah. When we first ran into our small enclaves, everybody was adjusting psychologically.
Yeah.
I mean, the tension was so much. The fear of the unknown was real.
Yeah.
Every time it was as if a specter called COVID will come from one corner. These days now, like I was telling somebody, I said, look, sickness has been banned. Though. You can't tell anybody that you are sick, as if we never used to be sick before. So if you dare say you are sick now, either you are telling them
You
your
become a
spouse,
suspect.
or you have to first of all manage yourself inside the room. Don't, yes, or else you become a pariah. Everybody will just take that thing don't come. So it is a name, COVID 19 is something that nobody wants to. In fact, it's going to a point that you don't even want to mention it.
No.
I banned myself from watching news for a long time. The ban is still in place. I lifted it partially. Sometimes when I go to where my wife or the rest of the house, they're watching TV and I say maybe it's a local channel, I look at it briefly. And because most of the time, what you encounter is very sad. And it impacts on the body, the soul, everything for a long time. The effect wears off. It takes a very long time to wear off. So for creativity is intolerant of tension. If you're a very creative person, once tension comes into your spirit, any kind of negative emotion, whether it's fear, whether it's anger, whether it's any kind of depression, it interferes, with the frequency of creativity. So that is one of the first things that artists have had to deal with. We are still dealing with. Now everybody has been forced to. Now we are aware of ourselves. We are aware of God. I'm sure even some atheists this period would have converted. Would have been converted. Like say this one pass. That belief. So it's something that has put all of us on edge. But as artists, after we had to contend with this thing, we grappled with it. Being home because some of from the Universal Studios, for example, we are taking a break a few days before the government even announced, because it was becoming increasingly difficult for some members to commit to and from work. So we just decided that, look, why not let's take a break. Incidentally, a few days after government announced the lockdown and the guiding, policy, and having got the first few days, people that were used to going out regular, those of us who didn't traditionally work from home, it was a very new experience. But after I settled down, maybe because some of us are veterans of the Nigerian society, I've seen a lot of things. A lot. Probably one of the heights of the things that we've seen was the June 12th crisis, the political crisis that we encountered between 1993 and 1999 when we started the new political experience. But the height of it was about that 1994, when the whole country was shut down for months. Totally shut down. For those of us who managed to sneak out to work those days, you would drive avoiding dead bodies on the road. It was that vivid. You could be coming back from somewhere and the next thing you arrive to work somewhere and you have gunshots. Almost every day there was mass casualty. So having gone through that experience, we thought we had seen the worst of it. We don't pray for war. Maybe something, except at that level, would have been what you say would be very trying. But this COVID experience, it's not about bullets, it's not about guns, it's not about anything. It's an invisible adversary. That strikes without notice, it makes everybody vulnerable. So that was a totally new experience that we had to contend with. So before we settled to work, I just thought one day, I said, look, this thing, for how long? Let me try and start playing with something. Because look, for an artist, a full-time artist, when you stop working, your income stops. And the bills don't stop. So I just decided one day, I said, God, you are with me on this journey, please. And I started playing with certain things. And before I knew it, I got back into the rhythm. So I've been a bit productive, and because of social media, we're able to share some of those experiences. And I can tell you, the art community has been so vibrant within cyberspace. The social media platforms have been very active, and it is an opportunity to salute the courageous spirit of the artists, locally, internationally. So we've rubbed off on each other positively. When you see what your friend or colleague is doing somewhere, you roll up your sleeves, even if it's not for immediate business. You start getting active and creative again, and before you know it, you're back on stream. But the thing, everybody has to be careful because it is now very, very probably your greatest asset now is your health. You know, we try, we play our part, and like Odogu said, it is the creator that is the ultimate power that gives us grace, that blesses all our activities. So with God on our side, we'll be able to continue and face the realities of the market space, because now there is no physical activity. Most things will be done in virtual space. Now is the time that old investments will start to bear fruit. Unfortunately, or incidentally, it might be a very trying time for younger artists who are just coming up, who have had to rely on that system that was in existence before, because they could take they had representation. Some of them were just building a clientele base, but maybe they had not. You can't say some of them have built up what some of us have built over time. So where they have direct contact with consumers, who have tasted your brand and had faith in it, and that could reach out to you and say, look, you have something. Some of the younger ones have been going through certain conduits, the art brokers. So everything is on pause now. This is where you have to, even if before the system takes off again, it now is going to highlight the need. It's going to stress the need for consistency in terms of quality of what you produce, because that is what will make people come for you easily. People are going to look at images now. It is when they believe absolutely either in the broker or the artist that they're going to say, okay, let me do business, even without having a physical feel of the work.
Yeah.
So it is a new order now. And it's like a bucking horse that we're going to learn to take. We're going to learn to ride without falling off. It will happen. It's a slow process.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, thank you very much for your insights. It's been. Hello. Sorry, sir.
Hi.
Okay, sir. Sorry, Mr. Idosa, if you could please comment
On
on what he has just
surviving
said.
this,
Really.
yeah, he has said so much about what we can do. I think one of the biggest lessons is that we shouldn't be caught unawares, especially with our materials. I will empathize with artists who were short on materials just before the lockdown, because I think that will be the source of the one of the sources of greatest frustration. Largely, I think that the psychological beat needs to be, because what I have been telling a few people is just say like 3 months of no sales. But it becomes a bit difficult when you have to see those who have lost a loved one, or like Mr. Olaku said, when you see images on TV of people just dying without, it's almost, it's like you are in a shock. That kind of, these are human beings. They are just being lined up and buried, covered up. And you could see yourself in that space, and you are wondering what is life after all. So that is enough to affect one's mental psyche. So I can understand why Mr. Olaku was saying he had to stay away from TV or news. So for those who are struggling, I want to just encourage you. Since you are alive, thank God for life, and be hopeful. Keep dreaming. Don't stop dreaming. And for those that have lost their loved ones, I empathize with you, and I believe that the Lord will give you the fortitude to bear the loss. And let's just keep believing that it's going to get better. And let's keep, like I tell people, let's fulfill all righteousness. Unfortunately, sadly, there are people who claim to be leaders, whether spiritually or otherwise. They are misinforming the public. But the question I ask is, the people dying, are they dying by, somebody was arguing, malaria kills more. Then we know what to do to prevent malaria. But this one, you don't know what to do. There is no, you can't go across the counter to say, I want to buy a certain drug so that I can treat this. I think that is the real problem. So people should stop misleading others and just allow people to get the right information, observe the rules and regulations, and keep your hygiene and head above water. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those impactful words. Mr. Odogu, we heard anything from you. If you could please.
Did you
I'm
just
with
speak?
you.
Did you just speak dialect? Okay.
No, I did not. I don't have anything to say. Please, if you could just, say a few words, really. Oh, I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I listened to Mr. Lako and Edosa very well. I couldn't really function that period. The first week was so bad.
Yeah,
So
first 2
bad
weeks.
for me. The
First
first
2
week was
weeks.
so bad for me because I'm that kind of person that works virtually every day. It's in the system that once it's 6 o'clock, 6:30, you should be leaving the house for work. And I wake up nowhere to go to.
It's like an attack.
It came to a point where at least people who live around me that I didn't know before now, I know them and I know their name.
That's an advantage.
It was that bad. I just when very early in the morning I enter my car, I'm driving off. Late 10 o'clock, 10:30, I'm driving in. And this one will be in the house, you sit on a couch, watching the television, seeing all sort of things happening and all that. So I won't lie to you again, seeing those people who were sick, people who I'm sorry to say this, it was like a confirmation for me. Why are you worried? The question that I asked myself, why are you worried because you didn't go to work? People are dying. And they've told you to stay back home so that you won't die. That's the only consolation. So I felt for them. I felt, people losing their lives. Yes, like Lako said, the internet, social media can help. I was communicating with my people in the US, communicating with people at home, at Ambo, and giving me hope, giving them hope too. They said, this is what we're supposed to do, call each other. It's good that nothing is happening to us, but we sympathize with those people who lost their families and all that. It wasn't a good experience. But again, we have to know, we the artists have to know, or everybody has to know that art business is like any other business. Once we take what we're doing as business, the better for every one of us. Because even other sectors suffered the same thing. Many people didn't go out. Everybody didn't go out. So it means that other people did not make money. Like you, the artist, didn't make money. So if you make money today, what do you do with it? You have to develop a kind of all this saving your money here or there, investing it into other things, so that when it's this difficult,
you can
something will
fall back to
along
that.
the line. Along the line, if you are investing into properties and all that, yes, along the line, money will come in. Art is like any other business. We all suffered. Everybody suffered setback. I learned that so many people are not paying salaries because they are telling the people who work with them that we did not make money, so we don't have money to pay you.
Yes.
So it cuts
Very tough.
across. But we just pray that something like this will never happen again to us.
Amen.
It's not a good thing to talk about. Somebody asked me, have you done any work as regards COVID-19? I said, I don't want to document it. It's not everything you document. It's not one documentary.
Don't worry, the inspiration will come. The inspiration will come.
Something that almost took me to depression. No way. I won't document it.
The inspiration will come. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Olaku, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming here today to speak. We learned so much from you, from your wealth of experience. Thank you so much, Mr. Edosa. Thank you so much, Mr. Odoku.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I know you're all very busy, but we really appreciate each and every of you, and thank you for each and every of us that joined. That, sir, you want to say something, sir?
Carry on. You have managed to,
and every single one of us that actually attended today, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
We have to appreciate the people that took out time.
Took out their time at the background too. Yes.
Thank you for.
Thank you so much
for the support.
Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. Like I earlier stated when the session started, these sessions are focused on the experience of navigating adverse challenges from the perspectives of professional Nigerian artists, not only Nigerian artists, really, Nigerian artists, Nigerian brokers, Nigerian dealers, Nigerian gallery owners, Nigerian it's not necessarily Nigerian, like art collectors and clienteles. We're still going to get their
stakeholders in the industry.
We're still going to get their perspective on so many things. So this webinar is a continuous thing. It's going to be continuous, and I hope that these insights that have been shared and these lessons that have also been like shared with us today, we've learned so much, and I hope they provide us like with the toolkits that we can draw from in order to navigate towards this new order that is coming, and towards and in the light of this economic downturn. Really, I really hope so. So thank you so much to the audience. Our time is fast spent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless you.
And we hope to see you sometime. Really. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye. Enjoy the rest of the week.
You too. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
God bless you.
Bye-bye, sir.
Salute.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah. Bye-bye.